be presenting on how the fathead minnows, marine animals, how they communicate. So starting off, communication is presented in signaling systems. So signaling systems has four components. The first component is the visual stimulus, which is when the fathead minnow sees eye to eye with um, its predator, the northern pike. The second component is the chemical release, which is done voluntarily. So here we have the fathead minnow releasing its urine in pulses because it saw its predator. So here we have the third component, which is this receiver response. So we do see shoaling, which is the grouping of two or more minnows. Freezing is when an individual just stops moving. And then dashing is the swift, like zigzaggy movements made by the minnows in hopes of losing its predator. The fourth component is its ability to pass on to offspring. So here we have the parent telling its offspring about the dangers of the northern pike and how it is a predator to their species. So the hypothesis of my paper is that fathead minnows communicate using chemically produced disturbance cues to signal conspecifics about an approaching predator. Conspecifics basically means individuals of the same species. So here in our shoaling, our grouping, this would be conspecifics because they are individuals of the same species. And continuing with the hypothesis, they also test whether they are more likely to behave in a certain way when presented in a group with conspecifics, or when they are grouped with unfamiliar fishes, or when they are alone. So moving on to methods, the fathead minnows are collected from the Pike Lake in Saskatchewan and are kept in laboratory tanks for about 2 months. After the 2 months, the testing will then begin. These fathead minnows are placed into two groups. They are either a donor or they would be a receiver. So starting with the donors, their water will be collected twice. It will be first collected as an undisturbed cue, meaning that there is no chemical release in the water, that there is no urine in the water, whereas after a visual stimulus of their predator, the water will be collected again and it will be labeled as disturbed cue because there is chemicals present in the water, so that means that urine is present in the water. So for these cues, there will be three of each because there will be undisturbed cues from the alone, undisturbed cues from the familiar fishes, and undisturbed from unfamiliar. And this will be the same for the disturbed cues with a total of six different cues. So taking on these six different cues, it will be brought over to the receivers, which will be tested on them. So there will be 15 replicas of these fishes that will be tested for the alone undisturbed cues. Another 15 will be tested with the familiar fishes for undisturbed cues. Another 15 will be tested with the unfamiliar fishes and the undisturbed cues. And the same will go to each of these different disturbed cues, all 15 each. So altogether, there will be a total of 90 test subjects. And moving on to the results and discussion. So the results from this experiment states that all the receivers that were exposed to the six different cues did in fact display shoaling, freezing, or dashing, which are known to be anti-predator behaviors. So it is evident that minnows behave this way when they present in groups with conspecifics. So that is dictated here in our graph. So we can see here the higher percentage of shoaling in groups with familiar minnows when exposed to disturbance cues, whereas very low percentages when exposed to undisturbed cues. And the same goes for freezing, very high percentages up here, and dashing as well. So with this, we can conclude that fathead minnows use signaling systems. Well, I'm blocking the way. We can conclude that fathead minnows use signaling systems to communicate danger better with the presence of conspecifics. And with the presence of conspecifics, they are more likely to behave in anti-predator behaviors, such as dashing, freezing, and shoaling. So they behave in this way in the presence of familiar minnows rather than when they are alone or with unfamiliar individuals. And so that wraps up my presentation. I hope you learned something new. Thank you for listening.